Okay, and what we want to do in this video is finish off our look at the very important thing that are the factors of production, okay? So this is the final factor of production that we're going to discuss, and this is enterprise or entrepreneurship, okay? Now, a good thing that we want to look at is this photo here, because while we're saying that you do need all the factors of production to produce goods and services, one person can make up or at least acquire all of those factors of production. So what we have here is a farmer. So they're showing entrepreneurship or enterprise with the idea, and then the blood, sweat and tears that they're putting into their business is the labor. The factor, the capital, the tractor is the capital, excuse me, and then the land, of course, that they're farming is the factor of production, land. Now, enterprise is the factor of production involved in organising and risk-taking. Now, I will give, with pictures, a different definition, but of course, when you are writing down a definition, you give this definition for enterprise. What an entrepreneur does, and I'll give a definition of an entrepreneur later on, but what enterprise is a factor of production, what the business owner does essentially, they are the ones that combine the other three factors of production. But why do they combine them? To do what? To produce goods and services. Okay, that's what an entrepreneur does. That's what enterprise does. It combines the other three factors. It puts them to productive use. Okay, so please keep that in mind. And at least from my definition, of course, you give the one on the previous slide, the IB one. An important fact about entrepreneurs is obvious from the definition. And this is actually very, very important. Enterprise, the factor of production, which I have said has combined the other three factors of production to produce goods and services, right? Now that's fine. If enterprise didn't exist, the other three factors would lie idle. That means that they would do nothing. Now, when factors of production do nothing, nothing is made in the economy. Now, this is actually from the Great Depression, 1929. Depends on your definition. Some people say it didn't end until like 1946. Others say the worst part of it was 1929 to 1933. Okay, but this is people lining up for free soup, because in America, the economy had gotten so bad, very few people could find any work. There was 25% unemployment. And don't forget, we talked about the unemployment rate in the labour video, which was if there were 100 people in the economy looking for work and willing to work and able to work, but they couldn't find a job, well, 100 people were looking for work, 25 people could not find a job, even though they're eligible and actively seeking work. Now that's what you call a recession. Okay, so when nothing is made in the economy, its residents, the people that live there, can't enjoy any goods or services, and as such they are poor. What I actually mean by that is that the ability to consume has been reduced by the lack of production. Now, there are government policies that mainstream economists claim can bring an economy out of a recession. Okay, but basically, unless something changes, unless entrepreneurs can find a way to bring together the other three factors of production to produce goods and services that people want. There's no point in producing things that they don't want, right? Produce goods and services that people want. Well, essentially, we're in the poorhouse, okay? And keep that very much in mind. Now, this was one of my favourite I suppose, which is a contentious thing to say, but entrepreneurs was Henry Ford. He's very rough on his son. I thought he should have been kinder, but that's neither here nor there. What he did as an entrepreneur was he revolutionized the automobile industry in America. What he did was, what used to happen was a load of people would stand around all the parts required for the car, and then they're like, okay, today we're going to build the chassis, then the next day we're going to build the engine, then the next day we're going to add the doors, and the next day we're going to add the wheels, right? And there was no specialization. Now remember that, guys, remember that from the labor video, the importance of specialization in terms of increased productivity, in terms of increased overall production in the economy. All right, so what he did was he created an assembly line, and these guys back here would have built the chassis, these guys here would have built the engine, these guys here would have attached the doors and the wheels and so on, and these guys probably, I don't know what they're doing, but let's say they're fixing the lights. So what happened was each person had one specific job in the Ford factory, right? And that meant that they just concentrated on doing that job all day, every day. Now, there is definitely an element of boredom, but certainly there's an increase in efficiency. But to compensate for any effective boredom, the going wage at the time was $1 a day. Because productivity rose so much, and I want you to understand this now, that your wages, the return to labour, the reward for labour, are dependent on your productivity, the value of what you can produce in an hour. Well, because they could produce so much more, and then Henry Ford could sell so many cars and made such a great profit, he didn't keep that profit for himself. He actually gave $5 a day wages. So people knew that they had to keep that job. There were people like really sick and just coming into work anyway because they did not want to lose an incredibly high paying job during a recession. That's what an entrepreneur, during a Great Depression, that's what an entrepreneur can do. An entrepreneur, if they're good enough, and I encourage you to try to be good enough in the future, can genuinely change society for the better. And let's not be naive, for the worse. So hopefully you can be one of the good guys, okay? Now, the main reason that entrepreneurs are willing to take risks involved in setting up a business is because they believe they will make a profit. Now, we're going to talk about an entrepreneur and a profit in a second. It's not the only reason, I accept that, but it's a pretty good place to start for our study of economics. So please understand that they are taking a risk and organising the other factors of production to produce goods and services that you and I enjoy. They are combining. They are the ones that bring together the whole production process in an economy and are incredibly important. So what's an entrepreneur, right? Well, the definition is a person who takes a risk in order to make a profit by bringing together or combining the other three factors of production to produce goods and services that you and I enjoy. Okay, that's something that you should learn off. And the reward, the name of the payment that is received by the entrepreneur, the economic name for any payment that is received by the entrepreneur is profit. Now, before you go out and think that entrepreneurs are all bad and they're ruining the world and they're just after profit, just realize this. This enterprise is the only factor of production that can make a loss. So there is a big risk. It is the only factor of production that can make a loss. So there is a big risk in starting a company. But with that risk, and me being Irish, I will give the example of Benjamin Lee Guinness. The Guinness family set up a drinks company in Ireland and now export all over the world. That company does, part of Diageo now. But what they did with their huge profits was they built a massive amount of social housing. That's the kind of entrepreneurship that I would encourage. Entrepreneurship that makes an economy work for everybody. And forgive me for being somewhat self-indulgent, but that is the type of entrepreneur that I hope you would become. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I really hope this helped, and I look forward to seeing the next video.